Hello and welcome back to the Crafting OT. Today's video I want to seal my first painting. I have Mod Podge gloss. I could not find super gloss at any of the craft stores that I went to. I know I can get it on Amazon, but I just wanted to kind of start with something and see how I like it. There are a lot of comparison videos out there already for diamond painting with different sealing types of things. And this seems to be a popular one, so I'm going to start with that one. I do have this lovely little brush that a lot of people use for the Mod Podge, or even just sealing in general, and I have to say it feels fabulous. It's a very nice feeling brush. That said, this painting is not a good use for this brush. This painting, it has a lot, doesn't need a full coat all the way back and forth, and the diamonds are not so tightly together that I need to work it in like I would with the brush like this. So I am going to use two little paintbrushes that I have. This one I'll use for the main bits here, and then this guy I'll use for these little ones here. The goal is to not cover this entire thing with Mod Podge. And I don't want so heavy a layer that it ends up being super stiff and that you can't work with it and you can end up breaking it, which I can see some of them doing. Some of the other videos I've seen kind of that way. So the method I'm going to do is a video, or actually a few videos of people I've seen do this, is that they pour a little bit of Mod Podge in a plate or a bowl, and then they add a little bit of water to water it down. They work it down into it, get a nice coating, and then they take some paper towels and kind of wipe the excess off. So that's the method I'm going to be trying today. And I'm going to try to film this whole thing and probably speed up through some of it as we go along here, because you don't need to watch me probably do every little nit-gritty piece of it. Before I do that, I do want to roll it and make sure everything's down as good as it can be, especially these guys here where I can see it, but I don't think you can probably see it on the camera where the glue's kind of off. So these are like right on the edge of the glue. That's not where it really should be. And I kept the plastic because I didn't want any of the beads kind of sticking to this rubber and pulling up accidentally. So I kept the plastic so that I could really try to keep everything there, make sure it's pulled down as well as it can. Now, if I had a uniform bead or drill, still calling them beads, if I had a uniform drill size, I could go back and forth very easily. But because I have these big chunky ones, it's smoother if I just do one direction. And it feels like when I go back and forth that I'm going to pull things off. So that's done. And then the next thing that I would do, taking this off into the side, is I would, especially considering I do have cats, you do want to kind of try to make sure there's no hair or anything on here. I did that before the video started, and because this is such a loose pattern, things kind of are easier to see a little bit. But I do have a toothbrush for when I get into the tighter drill patterns where I really kind of need to get in between them and help maybe get any excess wax off or anything. But for this one, I'm not going to worry about that today. I think it actually is pretty good at this point. So I'm going to mix some Mod Podge up here. And just enough to kind of wet this down a little bit. I want a little bit more of a water consistency. You can see this is pretty thick. I just want that a little bit wetter. I'm going to make a little valley in there and just pour just a little bit of water. Just a little bit. And let's just water it down a tad. And water and Mod Podge create bubbles. I don't know if you can kind of see all these bubbles here. Those will go away. You just want to kind of keep working it until either the bubbles go away, or know that you kind of have to make sure there's no bubbles when you are finished sealing. And that's a lot. I mean, it drips, but not really. Like, I have to get a lot on there, and it's still pretty viscous. It's not like water. I don't want it to be like water. I want it to have some consistency, which that does. Okay, so I'm going to put that right up there. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit wider. I might zoom in a little bit as we go, so that you can see this. Now, ordinarily, I think what most people do is they do it in sections so that they can put it in and then wipe it off and put it on and wipe it off and kind of do chunks of it. If this was a bigger painting, I think I would do that, but because this is smaller, I'm going to kind of try to do this all at once and we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to get some here. I'm going to start at the top and just paint it on. And yes, it goes on opaque a little bit. And this brush is narrow enough that I may not even need that other brush, because I'm able to get a kind of side going. Now the goal of this is to get it down around the beads so that it helps glue them on so that nothing comes off, but you still want a little bit of movement. Because if it's too stiff, you really could pop stuff off or make it like crack in between beads, and I could see that being a problem. And I still got some bubbles. And this is definitely experiment, because this is definitely not as tightly packed as a lot of them can be, probably most of them. So we'll see how this goes. This is total figure it out as we go, which is totally fine. Just make sure you do it on ones that you don't care about, if you can help it, so that you can get your technique down and don't have to worry about wrecking one that you really like. And hey, even if you have done a technique a whole bunch of times and it works and then all of a sudden it doesn't, you can always get a new painting. Yeah, that, depending upon how big that painting is, that might be a little frustrating, but you can always do that. I'm just trying to make sure I'm down in between, trying to get an even coat, not let it pile up too much in one spot. Make sure I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anywhere. Okay, so I think I'll try to speed this part up in my little editing program I'm getting. So hopefully you will only see the fast version of this. So be right back. And just so people are aware, you can hold the paintbrush this way too. It really isn't going to hurt it. Just like you can hold the diamond pen this way, you can hold the paintbrush this way. No helping. I have cat help. Cat help. Let's go a little closer so you can kind of see that brushing some more. No helping. Okay, I'm going to try to do these lines and kind of be careful, but I do want to hit where the glue spots are too, because I don't want that to be sticky anymore. I want that to kind of mattify. And I'm finding I like adding these little, I get a scoop or a brushful, or not even a brushful, I just dip it in a little bit. And then I just kind of tap it down across so I'm not dumping it all in one spot. And that seems to do a little bit better for the spreading. So kind of like this, I just give it a little tap around, and then after it's down, I can work it in. This random blank spot that I'm going in, that's where all the glue is. Really kind of off center. See, I didn't tap it down. See how I got all this, a whole bunch of it in one spot. I'm just trying to make sure I work it around. Oops, I have enough there. Work it around all these little individual drills, so not just on top of it, but getting in and around the nooks and crannies of it. Okay, so I'm already kind of starting to dry up here a little bit. I'm going to throw that in some water, and let's get some paper towels. Now, again, because this is a partial, I can't do that scrubbing that I've seen other people do, so I'm just going to kind of try to tap it down and pick up some of the excess off of the tops of the drills, because I do want it to stay in between the drills. And I don't want a huge buildup of it. I just want enough. I am going to do a little bit of scrubbing. I want to leave it in down in between. I want to make sure I can try to pop any bubbles that are still there. I'm not picking up a ton, so I have also seen where people will wet the towel. So it just acts as a little bit better mop. So we'll try that. And the fact that I'm not picking up a ton hopefully means there's not a ton to be picked up. I was picking up some, but not lots. This is actually drying fairly quickly. Yep. Towel residue. Okay. So, So, get that stirring a little bit. Let's get my mess kind of out of the way. So that's what it looks like at this moment. Zoom in a little bit. I mean, you can see it down in between the beads, but that's where you want it. And it's a gloss, so should dry with kind of a glossy sheen, but essentially clear. Shouldn't have any of this white stuff. But even touching it, I'm not getting any on my fingers. Towel still. So that's good. That means we cleaned it off at the top. So hopefully, because this is a looser drill pattern, hopefully it's not so much space in there that filling it with the Mod Podge will make it too stiff and brittle, but we shall see. So I'm going to leave this to dry. Zoom back out here. And one thing you want to be aware of, this is now sticky. This is full of glue. So if you have pets, like I do, you have to do something to make sure that you don't get cat hair and stuff on it. And as you saw in my video, my cat likes to investigate everything. So I have these guys. What this is actually a cat pan that I got from dollar store, Big Lots or Job Lots, one of them, for cheap. Ocean State Job Lot is where it came from. And this is big enough that I can just put this right over it. Now, obviously on a bigger painting, this might not work. I might have to do something a little bit differently, but something along those lines. And this is nice. I actually use this a lot for my epoxy resin stuff because it catches everything. You can have a wisp of hair floating through the air, and if you have epoxy resin drying, it will grab it. So usually when my epoxy resin is curing, I will put this over it too to keep any cat hair or people hair or any kind of fuzz or anything like that off of it. So I'm going to do that for this painting too, and we're going to let that dry. So we're going to come back after this is dried and see how it turned out. See you soon. Okay, it is the next day. I've let this dry overnight just to make sure it's completely dry, and we're going to look at it. So we'll take that off, and it looks good. It looks like it's all dry. Just seeing if anything's kind of coming loose, if it wasn't before. And let's take the tape off here. Get it off my little cardboard tool spot, work spot. I put it on the cardboard so that when I was sitting in my comfy chair, that I could have it in a hard surface, or at least somewhat more of a hard surface, so I can keep working on it while I was sitting in the chair. So let's pick this up and see. Okay, so I do like that it is still flexible. I can roll it. Nothing's popping up when it does that, which is what I was going for. I didn't want, let's get a little closer here. What? I didn't want it to be so stiff that I couldn't move it or manipulate it or do anything. And as you can see, I can still manipulate it. But we know that glue is down in there helping hold those on. And feeling down in there, like I can feel that there's a little shiny surface there, but it's not so thick that it's a problem. So I think that looks good. Which is what I wanted. I wanted enough glue to hold it in place, but not so much glue that it was a stiff board. And to keep everything on there. And as you can see, the shine's still here. There's nothing different with the shine. It's just as shiny, let's zoom out, as it was, I think, from before. See if I can get the light to catch it here. Let's move the light. So it's just as shiny as it was before the gluing, which is what I wanted. What we always want, right? Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks pretty good. So, first time sealing a painting, I think was a success. And I'm glad I used one that I wasn't super concerned about if it had an issue. I do like this one. I wouldn't have got it if I didn't like it. I think it's a very pretty first one, and my mom actually liked it, so maybe it'll turn into a mom gift at some point. We shall see. I have seen where people have taken it and painted over these here with like a white paint so that you don't see them when you go to frame them, and I would definitely have to do that with that one if I was to frame it, even if I did the stretching over the canvas piece, turning that over, you know, there's still a little bit of edge of that one. I'd probably still have to do that too. So we'll see. I may or may not frame this one. It might be a good one to practice with too. So we shall see. Think the next set of videos, unless something changes, I have some things ordered in the mail to work on this instead of using a cardboard side of a box. I have some things in the mail, so we'll see how those work out. When they come, I'll do a video, because it's also going to be a video on ergonomics, how you're holding yourself, your positioning, because I did notice a couple things in my body mechanics when working on this one, and I want to prevent what the issues I had with that one from happening in any other video or any other painting. So at this point, I'm going to end the video here, and we're going to go into more detail with the ergonomic stuff on the video when I get those things in the mail. So you guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.